Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Welcome to Turning Point with Patrice Williams.
We can be whatever we dream.
Enhance the way you think about successful entrepreneurship, empowerment, and politics to live your best life.
To build the highest, truest expression of yourself.
And now your host, the authentic, impactful influencer and coalition builder, Patrice Williams. Go!
We almost did that again. This is Patrice Williams with Turning Point. I am so excited to be here with you all today. It feels like it's been, maybe it's been a whole week. But this is one of my favorite parts of the day, and I get to bring on one of my favorite people. And we have a special topic coming to you today. Let's see if I can bring her on. We have Kirbee Brooks today.
Good morning.
Good morning. You're one of my favorite people.
Is that right? Wow, I feel very special and honored today.
Well,
so thank you for having me.
Anytime you always bring this amazing information. You're one of those people that when I talk to you, I feel better for the conversation.
Well, I'm happy that I can do that, and hopefully I'm able to do that for others as well.
I think you do. But so I want to introduce you properly with your amazing bio, and then we are going to be talking about health inequity, COVID-19, and tobacco. And I can't wait to have that conversation with you.
I'm excited.
Here's your wonderful bio. Kirbee Brooks is a certified health education specialist with a master's degree in public health from Loma Linda University. She holds a bachelor's degree in health science from California State University, Fullerton. Kirbee is a native of Southern California and moved to the Bay Area almost 4 years ago to pursue her career in public health. Kirbee is currently a senior health education specialist with the Solano County Public Health, where she works with vulnerable populations to prevent chronic diseases such as diabetes and hypertension. Kirbee serves as the chronic disease prevention lead and tobacco prevention project coordinator for Solano County. She developed and implemented the first community mini grant program in her bureau that made funding available to residents of Solano County to promote physical activity in their communities. She has also developed and implemented the county's first blood pressure self-monitoring program, Just Check It, where the community members can check out a blood pressure kit like they would a book and monitor their blood pressure at home. Kirbee is a master trainer for the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, National Diabetes Prevention Program. Through much of her career with Solano Public Health, she has collaborated with Touro University to develop and implement the Diabetes Prevention Program county-wide. Kirbee now focuses on advocating for local policy change and improve the health outcomes of the communities she serves. Kirbee believes it is her calling to serve others. She has dedicated her career and personal endeavors to focus on pouring into African American, Black community, as well as other ethnic and vulnerable populations. Kirbee is also a licensed cosmetologist, and she's pursued cosmetology in high school and works as a hairstylist throughout college. In her free time, she enjoys exercising, cooking, and spending time with family and friends. I like it.
Yes.
I think cosmetology is the first.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the fun fact about you. And every time I realize that you're a cosmetologist, I'm like, well, that's why she always looks incredible. Like you don't seem like you have bad hair days like I do.
I do, believe it or not, I do. But luckily on those days I'm able to get it together really quick. So that's the interesting fact about me. Totally different than my public work.
Yeah, it is. But what's interesting is it still serves others.
Yes,
So it's
absolutely.
all kind of the same window. Well, so as you know, because you have been on the show before, I think you're only one or two guests that have been here twice. And as you know, that we have our interactive chat screen that is going to be to bring in all of the chats from LinkedIn and from various Facebook platforms, from YouTube. Everyone we are going to be able to see all of the chats there. So everyone, if you have questions throughout the presentation, go ahead and let us know. But for now, Kirbee, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Patrice. I'm so excited to be here and just to talk with everyone about some of the issues we have seen over the past year with COVID-19 and how that relates to tobacco use. As we know, Black and Brown communities have been disproportionately impacted, meaning that they've had worse outcomes if they've if they contracted the virus, and have higher rates of of death from COVID-19. So a lot of that does have to do with underlying health conditions and chronic diseases. And as many of us may or know, our Black and Brown communities also are disproportionately impacted by chronic diseases such as diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension. And one of those, one risk factor for chronic diseases, diabetes, hypertension, is tobacco use. And so today I just want to kind of make the connection how these bigger industries like the tobacco industry, the food industry, the sugar sweetened beverage industries are targeting minority communities, which is leading rates of chronic diseases in these communities.
I want to know all about it because when I first knew that you were coming to speak about this, I was wondering, I said, through COVID, I wonder if stress levels, are people using tobacco because of stress levels due to COVID?
Absolutely.
In the pandemic?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Stress, smoking is a coping factor for a lot of people who deal with stress, especially if they already have the addiction. And so, there have been a lot of high rates of smoking, especially among adults during seeing that vaping among youth has gone down a little bit across the state due to staying at home, but it's probably more so because they're at home with family and they're not able to hide bathrooms and smoke with their peers. But we've also been getting a lot of calls from people that live in multi-unit housing, like apartments, who are about their exposure to secondhand smoke. So now with the stay-at-home, we see this increase in exposure to secondhand smoke, which is just as harmful as smoking a cigarette yourself. And this secondhand smoke is the smoke that will come through vents and through walls and things like that. Again, that is still as harmful as firsthand smoke as if you were smoking yourself.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
So,
no,
I was gonna say, I know you have a presentation queued up for us. Do you want me to cue it up?
I do. So I want to go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So like I mentioned, I want to talk today about health inequity and what that looks like with COVID-19 and tobacco use. Okay, so here's just a quick overview. We're going to talk about COVID-19 and tobacco. We're going to talk about tobacco and social justice and the health inequities that the social injustices in Black and Brown communities has caused. And just a little bit of a call to action. We're going to talk about the Tobacco-Free Solano Coalition.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. So And my screen is changing here. So just a couple of key points about the adverse of smoking. Cigarette use and vaping interferes with your cells and airways, which creates a greater risk for developing COVID-19. Aerosol from vaping harms your lungs at the cellular and organ level. So these are just key points to keep in mind. Smoking decreases the ability to fight infections. So you think about COVID-19 being a virus, smoking can weaken your immune system, which makes it harder for you to fight infections. Smokers with COVID-19 are 2 times as likely to have serious symptoms, such as needing to be in ICU on a ventilator, or even potentially the outcome of death. Vaping is linked to sustainably increased risk of COVID-19 among teenagers and youth and adults. And youth and adults who vaped were 5 to 7 times more likely to be infected with COVID-19 than those who do not use e-cigarettes.
That makes sense because it's weakening your lungs.
Absolutely, yep. It weakens your overall immune system. So, you know, that person who smokes has so much more of a risk factor for developing COVID-19, but also for other chronic diseases like high blood pressure and diabetes, just to name a couple. So when we look here at non-smokers and their exposure to secondhand smoke and thirdhand smoke, like I just mentioned before, there's 70 cancer-causing chemicals in secondhand smoke from cigarettes. So when you think about that, you're not even the person that's smoking, but just your exposure to secondhand smoke from your neighbor that may be smoking. When you're out and about in the community and you have people smoking, you get a drift of that, the smoke in the air. You know, that's exposing you or the community as well to the harms of the tobacco smoke. Secondhand smoke is dangerous for children, pregnant women, the elderly, and those with chronic illnesses. Vapor or aerosol. Vapor and aerosol are ultrafine particles, and in those particles are small chemicals. And vapor and aerosol mostly comes from vaping. So vaping, the smoke that's let out is not actual smoke from something burning, but it's more of a vapor or aerosol, but there's still harmful substances in the vaping aerosol.
Because you know that there's a misinformation out there that vapor is safe. And then I think they have, when I think of it, I think that it comes in flavors, strawberry,
Absolutely.
cherry, but you're saying, look, this is still dangerous.
Yep. It's a mask.
Body.
It's a mask, and that, you know, the tobacco industry has historically practiced predatory marketing tactics, and you know, these flavored products are more so used to target our youth, and that's why it's so important that we get this information out there, because our youth are going to be the next generation of smokers, and that's what the tobacco industry wants. And then just lastly, thirdhand smoke sticks to walls, windows, furnitures, and it travels through air ducts. And so, you know, there's such thing as thirdhand smoke too. If someone is a smoker and they're always around their grandchild, or maybe you're always around your grandmother or something, you can pass on what we call thirdhand smoke to others as well.
And that's coming from your clothes.
It can come from your clothes. If it's in your house, on your walls, just kind of the smell just in your home and people come in, that, you know, is a form of thirdhand smoke as well.
Oh, wow. I didn't know. You know, and while you're on this screen, Tamari Richardson asks, why do you think teenagers are drawn to smoking, especially Black teens?
You know, it has a lot to do with the marketing. The tobacco industry has found creative marketing to make smoking seem cool. Even dating back to the 70s, you know, like Newport cigarettes, they would host these jazz festivals, the cool cigarettes, you know, it was cool to smoke. That's just their way of marketing. And they try to really tap into the more urban culture to embed smoking into that, to say that, hey, smoking is cool. If you want to be cool, this is what you should do. You should smoke. And now with all the work that's going on to prevent people from smoking, the tobacco industry has now like, okay, what is the next best thing? Then they lead to vaping, electronics, right?
Right.
Teens like electronics. So let's make an electronic cigarette, and let's make all these different flavors that they can try, right? And tobacco is addicting. Believe it or not, it is a really it's nicotine. It's an addictive substance, and so they know that once you're hooked, they may have a lifelong customer.
Oh wow! I was just talking to Tara earlier this morning. She was saying, wow, she never knew about third-hand smoke. I didn't either. I didn't know about that. That's the first time. Always elevating us in your conversations, Kirbee.
Yeah, and it's true. And we think about over the years as people later on down the line develop certain diseases or cancers, and we're not really sure why. You think about all of the exposures that are in your environment, just in our air in general, but then you have all of the exposures that people in the community are contributing to, such as smoking. We have a lot of different exposures that are in our element in general that contribute to our overall health outcomes.
Right. Yeah. So, yep. So, Tara Beasley Stanbury says no. She's noticing the flavors as well.
Yeah,
that's being marketed.
Wow. And it's no coincidence. They know what they're doing. They spend dollars on marketing to keep their business alive. So they want to go head to head with public health folks like us because we see what they're doing. We see the impact of this product, this substance, over decades, the harm that it's caused. And our work is to reduce chronic diseases and improve health outcomes. And so they want to toe with public health.
Well, I think you're gonna have some advocates to go toe to toe with you.
Yeah, absolutely. With that being said, I want to touch on tobacco as a social burden of health.
Okay.
African American Black communities, in these communities, tobacco use is a key contributor to the 3 leading causes of death: heart disease, cancer, and stroke. In the Latinx community, cancer, heart disease, and stroke are also high leading indicators, causes of death around the Hispanic community. So when you think about the leading causes of death and tobacco use being a key contributor to that, this is why it's so important for us in public health to really focus on tobacco prevention. And how do we do that? We do that through policy implementation, policy adoption and implementation, increasing healthcare access, addressing acts of racism and predatory marketing and targeting of our minority communities, minority and ethnic communities.
Right.
Yep.
Boy.
Yeah. And so here I just want to point out a couple of comments that have actually been made from executives at various tobacco companies. These are actual quotes that have been made. If you see the first one that RJ Reynolds made about the African American community, we don't smoke that stuff. We sell it. We reserve the right to smoke. We reserve the right to smoke for the young, the poor, the Black, and the stupid. Systematically targeted, aggressive marketing, cheaper prices, and density in products. So that comment here just goes to say about all of the oversaturation of tobacco advertising and liquor stores and things like that in lower income communities, in our Black and brown communities. Oversaturation of those products is great marketing for them to attract our community, to attract the Black and brown communities. So again, this is purposely done. There's more advertising of menthol flavored products in the African American community. There's been a lot of research around menthol flavor and the attraction to people with darker pigmentation. If you actually look it up, there's some research out there that more melanin is attracted to more of a menthol flavor. It's some interesting, really research out there. So this is something that tobacco has done, and you'll see a lot of marketing of menthol flavored products in Black and brown communities. Misty menthol lights and menthol, and if you start to pay attention, you'll start to see a lot of that marketing is very present in Black and brown communities. And in California, about 68% of of African American adults smoke cigarettes, smoke mentholated cigarettes, compared to only 19% of white adult cigarette smokers. Again, that has a lot to do with the marketing, the oversaturation, these liquor stores and tobacco smoke shops in these black and brown communities.
Wow.
And then for the Latinx community, the tobacco industry has deemed this population as lucrative. They're easy to reach and undermarketed. So, let's go at them. They compensate low-income Hispanic Latino merchants for displaying advertisements in predominantly Hispanic Latino neighborhoods. So they incentivize them like, hey, if you put this advertisement up, we'll give you a discount on this product that we sell to you.
That is terrible.
Yeah. And they've also sponsored Hispanic cultural events, scholarship programs, made contributions and to political causes to maintain its influence. And so they've done that in the African American community as well. So they're really sneaky, and they have a lot of money to spend on promoting their business, their overall agenda. Questions in the chat about right now?
You have Tara fired up. She's saying, time to start holding the big tobacco accountable. And also she says, is that why menthol cigarettes are banned in San Francisco?
Absolutely. Yep. It's an equity issue because of the research that's known about menthol flavored products and the oversaturation of menthol flavored products in the Black community. It's one of those policy initiatives that's being pushed for the purpose of health equity. A lot of cities are looking at banning flavored tobacco products in general, including menthol products. Actually, recently the state enacted Bill SB 793, which would have banned the sale of flavored tobacco products in all California. But the tobacco industry filed a referendum, and they had to get, I think, over 600,000 signatures in order to combat that bill to put it on the next ballot in 2 years. So they actually were able to get all of those signatures. And so the SB 793 will be on the ballot in 2 years, on the state ballot in 2 years, to give people the chance to vote if flavored tobacco products should be banned in California or not. And so, during this time, it's just really important to educate people about these predatory marketing. And flavored tobacco products were specifically developed for youth. They're trying to hook the next generation of tobacco users.
Wow.
Yep.
So I'm being quiet because I just want that to land on us. I don't want to over talk.
No, I understand. Yeah, I understand. Like I said, this goes back in time. Here's a story about a 9-year-old girl, Marie Evans. She was a product of the tobacco playground giveaways. Back in the day, the tobacco industry used to go into predominantly lower income, community of color communities and give out free cigarette samples to people, kids on playgrounds, people going in and out of stores, try their new product. This is a real thing. They used to give away cigarettes. And actually, Dave Chappelle talks about this on some of his stand-up shows, that he'll never forget the day he was 14 and he got free cigarettes from, someone that was handing them out in his community. And you see, he's always smoking. Right. And so it's very interesting because he talks about that himself, whether he's trying to be funny about it or not, but it's something that actually happened. But Marie Evans here, she was a product of one of these giveaways. She was 9 years old when she first started getting free cigarettes in the Boston Housing Project in 1957. And at first she traded them for candy. So for other people, she would give them away and, ask for candy. But eventually she started smoking them herself. When she turned 13, she got a little bit older, she started smoking them herself. But decades later, she ended up dying of lung cancer at the age of 54. And that's very, very young. And it's sickening, it's sickening for anyone to die at any age, but especially for something that's preventable. And it can be preventable if we have more clean air, if we are not using substances that impact our health, such as tobacco products. And so there was a lawsuit that was filed against her family, against the tobacco industry. And the industry was actually found guilty on all counts, for that predatory marketing and going onto playgrounds and in communities of color and handing out cigarettes. And that's why a lot of this work in tobacco prevention is done today to protect our youth and our underserved communities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here I just want to show a couple of the products that the tobacco industry has developed. If you see here to the left, it's created flavored products to target the Hispanic community, like horchata, churros, tres leches. There's vaping products that are named these flavors to attract young people, or to attract, our Latino youth. And then you look to the right, you can see there's an actual food product, but right next to it, there's a vaping liquid. So you see the juice box, apple juice box. That's a real juice box, but right next to it on the right of it, that's a vaping liquid, an e-cigarette liquid.
Wow, that matches.
Yeah. Underneath that, you can see the Airhead candy. There's a candy that's called not Airheads, or Warheads, sour ones. And then right next to it here is a vaping product. And you see that for all of these products here on this page. Again, it's the predatory marketing. Who else do you think they're trying to attract with the juice box?
Right.
Kids, right?
Terrible.
Youth. So it's really important for parents to know, and it's really important for youth to know, the tobacco industry wants you to think it's cool, but they're doing this to you on purpose. They're getting dollars, and we're getting sicker.
Kirbee, what do we do as parents? I have a 18-year-old that's in his room. Do I just need to go through all his stuff? Do I just pay attention to see if I smell juice box, these strange smelling scents coming from his room? As parents, what do we do?
Yeah, I really think it's important to have a conversation with your youth and, have those myth buster conversations. They may think that vaping is less harmful than using cigarettes. So I'm going to do this because it's nothing happening to me. Nothing will happen to me. So it's very important that they're educated that it is still very, very harmful. And just to be alert, to be aware of, potential use. They even have the Juuls, which are e-cigarettes that look like flash drives that you put in your computer. So, and you can actually charge your Juul in your computer. It's an electronic cigarette device that you could use, that youth are using. And again, the tobacco industry designed it to look like a flash drive, so the parents would have no way of telling that it's a smoking device. So just really having that open and honest conversation about the harmful impacts of it, and being aware. No, just keeping in mind that the tobacco industry is preying on your youth. They're trying to be tricky and make all kind of disguises that they can. Just really being aware.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then here, yeah, no problem. I just wanted to show a couple of ads that the tobacco industry has put out over the years. If you look at the Newport ad here to the left, it's a group of African American people on a roller coaster. What does smoking cigarettes have to do with the roller coaster? It's fun. Newport, that's their advertisement there. Again, you see here in Spanish, to a couple here having fun, laughing, talking. Newport advertisement. Same thing underneath. I can't tell what he's doing here, but Newport, or cool, sorry, that's a cool advertisement in Spanish. And then to the left, on the right here, you see Blew It Up. That's a type of electronic smoking device. But again, they're making it his glasses. He's at the casino or something. He's got his chips. He's gambling. But they really try to promote that smoking cigarettes or electronic devices is the cool thing to do. The tobacco industry is also targeting the LGBTQ community. They've had a lot of abundance of marketing in LGBTQ magazines. They sponsor local pride events and celebrations. Nearly 50% of adults smoke cigarettes in California. Smokers in California smoke, mentholated cigarettes compared to 28% of straight adult smokers. So 50% of LGBTQ also smoke mentholated cigarettes. Again, the flavors and predatory marketing.
Oh boy.
Okay. And so there's so much in Solano County to really address this public health issue, especially in the light of COVID-19. You know, it was alarming in the beginning of 2020 to see the rates of people that are dying due to this deadly virus. And, we want to work even harder to get the message out there that tobacco use is harmful. Vaping is harmful for your health. It's harmful on its own, but then it's also harmful when you pair it with viruses like COVID and chronic conditions like diabetes and hypertension. It's really, really important that tobacco use is controlled in our community. And one way that people can get involved is to join the Tobacco Free Solano Coalition. It's a coalition that is facilitated by Areli Williams. She's a coalition coordinator. We also have two older youth, I will say, co-chairs. They're not really youth anymore, they're college graduates, really making some positive changes in the community. So if anyone is interested in getting involved, they can contact me. Our coalition does a lot of policy work. Last December in Benicia, there was a huge policy that was adopted that banned smoking almost everywhere in Benicia. That's in multi-unit housing, so apartments, to reduce secondhand smoke exposure on the streets, like on bus stops, in parks. It bans smoking in all of those major areas where there could be potential exposure to communities. So that was a great job from Benicia, and I know that there's potentially other communities that are looking to adopt policy as well. And this coalition is available to do education for policymakers and community members as well.
Is the TFS, Tobacco Free Solano, so are they working to replicate what Benicia did city by city?
Yes. Yep. And the coalition, that's what they do. They do advocate for policy changes, because those are the changes that make the bigger impact. And in public health, we're here to provide education on the tobacco, effects of tobacco, and to help with any policy decision that needs to be made. But yes, they're advocates for policy change, and in all of the jurisdictions in Solano County, city by city, if they have to.
And how quickly, if we were able to adopt this initiative in every city, would we almost immediately start to see a turnaround in our numbers? Or does it take 7 years or 4 years? Or, is there a quick response, do you think, if we were able to really aggressively as a community increase awareness?
Right. I think for the health outcomes, it will take a while for us to see, but the rate of smokers or new smokers, or even specifically youth smokers, that is something we can start to see more immediately. And that is collected from different surveys. Just like in this past year, 2020, we saw that there was a little dip in youth vaping, but could be because they're home with their parents or other people now. But and who knows? But I think that the overall health outcomes, it could take a few years to see that. Also important for our neighboring jurisdictions to consider policies as well, so that folks aren't able to just go over the bridge and buy their products, or go up to the Sacramento area, buy their products. And so that's why it's really a statewide initiative to make these policy changes. And it's not to punish people. And we really don't want people to think that. We really want people to be educated what the tobacco industry is trying to do. It's not to take away people's rights, but it's to help people see that this is something that's harming their body. It's not cool. It's harmful.
Right. Right. Do we have time to look into the chat?
Absolutely. And I'm actually finished up here. So
Okay.
I can stop sharing.
Okay. So let me go backwards in the chat. And I think some of us you caught. So you talked a little bit about, Tamari brought up a great point. She says, how do we discourage our youth from smoking and get their family and friends to be smoke-free as well? And you were talking about talking to our kids. I was talking about snatching out everything out of my son's room, and you said, no, go ahead and talk to him.
Yep, just got to talk to them. What we're seeing with a lot of the youth groups that we work with, a lot of them are really passionate about social justice. And when they realize, wow, the tobacco industry is targeting communities of color, you know, and then they see here that communities of color are disproportionately impacted by things such as COVID-19. They're living through this, right? So this is something tangible that they can see and experience, but realize that tobacco use is directly connected to those outcomes.
Right.
And so we got to use opportunities like this to educate youth on what the options are. They have choice, right? But you need to know what the consequences are for all of the choices we make. And that it doesn't just impact you, it impacts your family. When you think about secondhand smoke, that they may not know that, or thirdhand smoke. It in fact impacts your family. It may impact your little brother or sister, your cousins, your grandparents, your parents. So those are the kind of conversations that we have to have with our youth. And then let them, you're watching, you're aware. When they know that you know what's going on, they'll be a little more hesitant to explore as well. But, you know, educating them on the social justice aspect of it, you know, depending on the impactful for them as well.
No, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And Tara says, you talked a little bit about this. How do we ban the sale of tobacco to youth in our county? Just an outright ban. And would that be through?
Yep.
Okay, I thought I wrote it down. I didn't. The group that you were telling us about?
Tobacco-free Solano. Get involved in the coalition. This coalition is advocating for policy change for every city in Solano County. We have to write our policymakers. We have to talk to them and say, this is a problem here. It's impacting our youth and we don't want it anymore. And this conversation is going on all over the state of California. So they are familiar with these types of policies and they exist. And it's something Solano Public Health, the tobacco prevention and education program, we can assist with that education, you know, to educate policy, the backing of the community to tell their policymakers that this is what they want. So get involved in Tobacco-free Solano.
That's wonderful. And by the way, Tara is the owner of Noonies restaurant that we all love in Vallejo, and they just got a food truck. So we're going to be seeing them out in the road. Yes. Also, we have, isn't that good? I also see that Elise Cheek has responded, and she's shaking her head. She's learning a lot. By the way, Elise is the president of the Solano Black Chamber of Commerce. She's one of our elected officials. She's a trustee on the Solano Board of Education. So we have the community that is really fired up and interested. We have Cameron Hosendorf. Cameron, I memorized how to say your name finally. I'm proud of myself. And he says, excellent point. Make sure you look at the tools they use to vapes. They're in all different sizes and shapes for discretion. And I think he was adding on to the comment of, you know, these tools looking like jump drives. So,
yes.
So that's
or pin anything.
And by the way, Cameron, you are doing an amazing job in the community. I know you are a member of a number of different groups, but I've been watching you and your cleanup crew in Fairfield. Y'all are making Fairfield beautiful. See, let's reinforce tobacco-free Solano. So funny, I was looking down on my paper to see where I wrote it. I typed it. Tobacco-free Solano. That is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you can visit tobaccofreesolano.org.
Okay.
That is our coalition and tobacco prevention and education program website. Again, that's tobaccofreesolano.org. You can get information about all of the policy objectives that the coalition currently pursuing, more education on the harmful impacts of tobacco, and et cetera, et cetera. And there's contact information on there as well, so you can get a hold of one of us. And I can also share my email address if you'd like to get a hold of me.
Yes, if you would put it in a private chat, I'll cut and paste it over to our interactive chat. And we just have everyone just thanking you for educating us on this topic. You, like I said, you always elevate the community. I always leave a conversation with you knowing more.
It's my passion, and that's what I was here to do, is to serve others. And we just have to be educated and know what's happening in this world around us, make informed decisions that way.
Well, I tell you, within the first 15 minutes, do you hear the family in the background? Within the first few minutes coming online, this was shared 22 times.
Wow.
This cast.
Awesome.
So we
have to keep word.
Right. I always say sharing and caring is caring. It really is. Like literally sharing this message and getting this out to as many people as possible so that we're all having conversations with our kids and our families so that we are being preyed upon.
Right. Yep. It is the truth. If we don't know it, we won't. Yep. So thank you so much for hosting this platform, and allowing people to come here and to educate the community. It's really on this space.
Well, thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you for coming on. And you have a platform to educate the community always. You always have us. So you just let us know when you come on.
Absolutely. I will. I sure will.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to put you in the green room for just a minute.
Oh, thanks, everybody.
Another amazing episode of Turning Point with Patrice. We were just was talking to Kirbee Brooks. Kirbee Brooks talked about health equity in the lens of COVID-19 and tobacco, and how tobacco is being really shoved down our throats here in California. We can get in front of this as a community. Please share the word. Please talk to your families. Please talk to everyone about this so we can get in front of this and we can make a difference. We have some really great shows coming up. You already got a little glimpse of Tara Beasley Stanberry. She is the owner of Noonies. She is also an amazing cook. She is going to come on to Turning Point and talk politics with us while we all cook and make an apple pie. I hope I don't embarrass myself on a live stream that lives forever. That would be pretty awful. We also have Cassandra James. She is coming on tomorrow. She has this background in housing and affordable housing. And it's interesting because she has this background in San Francisco. And so, and as you know, in San Francisco, is this very innovative thoughts surrounding housing and affordable housing. Well, we're going to put that lens here in Solano County. Also, we have Senator Bill Dodd. He will also be on tomorrow. Cassandra will be on at 10, and then at 2, we will have Bill Dodd, Senator Bill Dodd, and I am really excited to host him as well. So with that, I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for coming on and watching us at Turning Point with K. Patrice. Hold on, and I'll give us our outro.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Turning Point with K. Patrice Williams.
Something better is always possible if you're willing to work for it and fight for it.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. And never miss a podcast or live stream by visiting our website, imkpatrice.com, or connecting through social media at IamKPatrice on all platforms.